Hello everyone, and welcome to the third and last episode of this series, showing a simple user journey in 4 steps that get an SMS sent using services and message templates. Of course, more videos will follow covering different and more complex workflows with gateways, sub-processes, call activities, to name a few. But until then, let's finish configuring our current workflow by visiting each of its steps and setting them up properly. Let's begin by assigning a new form to our first user task here. So I'm going to click on that and go to the right on the assign eForm button. From here, I'm going to choose an eForm that I previously created. I won't of this tutorial. But as you can see, we have the phone number and the name, two inputs here, a very basic form. So I'm going to select that. Since we're at the user tasks, I'm going to go to the last one and do the same. I'm going to assign a new form. SMS response, just a label here, and there we'll have a variable that's going to be rendered here, depending on the response. Next, we'll go to the service tasks, and we're gonna follow the same procedure, but this time we're going to choose an interface or a service for the job. So let's go to the system category and search for message template, because we're going to need to format the message that we're gonna send. So we'll use a template. Now I'll do the same for the send SMS service task. So go to system, search for SMS, send SMS. Here I can see what this interface or service expects for input and for output. So I know what I'm going to have to configure in order to use this interface. Gonna click apply. Now I have all my elements assigned. I'm just gonna save the workflow. Okay. Next up, we'll want to start and configure the variables, the mappings, because you see, let's take this eForm as an example. If you look here, you can see that it has two labels, two text boxes, and in these two text boxes, two variables are going to be rendered here. So if I go to the variables tab, I can see I already created two variables, phone number and name, two simple strings, and these two variables are linked, as you can see, are bound to these text boxes. So in order for me to get these values from the inputs and send them to the next elements, I'll have to go to the IO tab. I can see my variables here. I can see their output parameters. So I need to save these values in two workflow variables that are going to be accessible to the next elements. So for this, I'm going to go to variables tab, and I'm going to create a variable. It's a private variable. It's a string. Input output categories are only relevant if I were to use this workflow as a sub-process or as a workflow bound to a call activity in another workflow. It's not the case here, so I'm just going to create some private variables because they're only used internally in this workflow. I'll also say phone number. So now I have my two variables here at workflow level, which I'm gonna map here. Good. This form is done. Let's do the same for the last one. So this expects an SMS response input parameter. So I'll need to go to the variables and say workflow SMS response. Add this, map it here, SMS response, and we're pretty much done with the eForms. One more thing that needs to be configured, and that is the Actions tab. On each eForm, you have a set of actions available for you. So if we're on the first eForm, then of course we need to have a way to advance in the workflow. We need to have a next button available for us. So I'm going to enable that. I'm going to make it visible. And for the last eForm, I should also do the same, so I can advance to the end event, so I can finish the workflow. But since we already have an element, an eForm before this, I could also check the previous button. So I'll also see the previous button. I may want to go back and change something. Let's put a previous button to the left of the next one. Okay, let's save this. Now for the last part, we'll want to configure the service tasks. Here, I've chosen the message template interface. So for this one, I have a special option here to select a message template. We'll have to create one so that you can see the whole process. So we'll go to message templates. I'll click add message template. Let's select a type. Depending on the type, we have different set of fields available. Let's give it a name, SMS template. Okay. Hello. And here we'll use a placeholder for the actual name that's going to be inputted. This is our tutorial. And for phone number, I can say something like this. Okay, let's also give it a key. And then I can add this. Cool, we have it here. But as I was saying, we are using some variables here as well. So I'll need to define them. So I'll go here and say this is a standard string variable. And the same goes for the phone number. Good. Now we have our variables and we have our template. Let's go back here and let's refresh this. Now if you come here, we can see our newly created template. We can check again the SMS content phone number. Everything looks good. I'm gonna confirm. Now let's go to the send SMS and see what it expects, a phone number and a message. And as a response, I can go and select the SMS response. So the response will be saved in this variable, which in turn will be passed on to this eForm and shown. Okay, let's save this. So now, if we come to the Input-Output tab for the message template service task, we can see our variables or message template variables that we created here, prefixed by MSG, and we'll have to map them. So name is going to be the name taken from the first eForm, and the phone number, same story. Okay. Now, this service task is going to format my fields and will get an output here with the content and the phone number formatted. So you see these two fields, these two variables are exactly the same as the fields here. We could create new variables, but we could also use the ones that are provided as input. Nothing wrong with that. So for the phone number, I'm going to use the same variable. It's only going to prefix it with +4. But for the content, well, we'll need a new variable for that. So I'll come here and select SMS content. Now that I have the SMS content and the phone number stored in these two variables after the formatting takes place, I'll need to go to the send SMS service task, and for this model I'll need to provide the phone number and the message or the SMS content. I have this set up, the response is saved here. We're pretty much good to go. Everything looks good. We'll now just need to run it and see how it goes. I have already set up a page here that's going to use our workflow. So all I need to do is press start workflow, and an instance is created, and I can see the first eForm rendered here. So we have phone number, 10 digits format. I'm just gonna input my phone number and my name, and I'm gonna press next. I need to remind you that this button only shows here because I enabled it here. So from this actions tab, you can control all the actions that can take place on a certain form, on a certain step. You could also add custom actions, but we'll talk about this in a future video. Let's come back to our workflow and let's press next. Now it's going to execute the service call and format my content using the message It's also going to send the SMS. I just got it on my phone, and now I'm presented with the last e-form. That's saying the response was a success. So now I have the option to finish the workflow or maybe go back and change something. I'm gonna press next, and there we have it. Our workflow is completed. So that was it. We created this workflow from scratch. We configured each of its steps. Remember that variables are the most important part. They are the means of communication between every step here. Every user task, every service task is going to use variables, is going to use input, output values, and all of these are sent through workflow variables configured here. That was it. I hope it was clear and it helped you. I'll see you in the next episodes. Bye.